This is what all of us have been waiting for. It's where AI meets blockchain and crypto. So contrary to fluid nature of AI, blockchain enables transparency and traceability of every action, providing a rigid structure to ensure predictive outcomes. This presentation aims to demonstrate harmonic usage of blockchain and AI to ensure significantly more reliable, effective, and ethical use of AI. Ida runs NIR's Balkans, which is a very interesting L1 blockchain project. In her previous life, she was an entrepreneur and also in consulting and in marketing. Thank you.
Does everyone hear me without the mic? Ok, može. Nije problem. Možemo i pjevati. Okay, super. So once again, hi everyone. My name is Ida, and I'm currently working as the CEO of NIR Balkans. NIR is actually one of the layer 1 blockchain, and NIR Balkans is in charge of managing the growth within our beautiful region. John was having a really nice intro speech about that, and NIR is just one of the projects that is kind of working hard on making sure that our region is growing sustainably. My topic today will be, I would like to do a bit of a high-level overview of how can blockchain actually work together with the AI to ensure a more sustainable, a more ethical, and a more effective use of AI as such. But before we start, I would just like to give you a bit of my background history, just to show how I got to the part where I'm happy enough to work both in AI and the blockchain industry. So before I entered this beautiful industry last year full time, I was actually, my background is in Web 2, and as I like to say it, this was before I told my mom that I work for Bitcoin, because I don't know how it is for you guys if you work in Web 3, but this is kind of the easiest way for me to explain to non-crypto natives what do I do. So I do work for NIR, but I actually kind of just say I work for Bitcoin. It's easier to understand. So my background is in marketing, digital marketing, advertising, IT, but also consulting. And throughout the journey, I've been actually working a lot with consumers, and I had a really good chance to see how the consumer industry developed and how the data developed and influenced the consumers in general, and ability what we can offer to the organizations and the consumers. I would like to outline two of my last things that I've done before I entered the Web3, which was more also in the field of AI. So ENTG was my digital agency that I founded and was running. And we did a couple of very interesting projects in terms of AI. One of them was face recognition systems. So we actually built a product which enabled us to do the facial recognition of the people through the camera and actually read their emotions, gender, etc. All of this data has been used to predict some behavioral patterns from the consumers, and then to make better decisions on how to actually organize the retail or organize the advertising, etc., etc. So this was one of the use cases of AI that we've done. The second one was actually we built a product that enabled via machine learning of AI patterns to discover if the females are in their fertility days based on saliva pattern. And as you can imagine, all of this information has been very sensitive because it's about the medical data. And here we actually saw what the power of AI can be, but also throughout the work on this type of projects, I've actually also seen how little of the regulation there is on the AI generated data. That was 7 or 8 years ago, and that was still early days of usage of AI in terms of making decisions, etc. and I'm going to come a bit more onto that part, but essentially last year I made a full switch to Web3. I'm running the Near Balkans. Within Near Balkans, we've also developed a couple of projects. One of them is NFTs. Tanya was speaking about the NFTs. So we are actually created a way how to onboard users onto Web3, how to attest somebody's behavior within the specific occasions via the NFTs. And the second one is actually a product that enables you to securely exchange the data between users. So it's a peer-to-peer exchange, and it's how we are using blockchain to make sure that the data doesn't end up in the centralized sources and doesn't be misused, and it isn't misused. And one of the things we also started recently is the Web3 UX UI design agency. Tanya was also mentioning it. UX UI design is like a very currently one of the more complicated things where people are getting very confused. They are not sure what are they doing, how are they doing it, who are they sharing their data with, and by making like better UX solutions, we help them in the better decision-making process. So all of this is kind of interconnected, and now I would like to move to the topic of itself. So we do know that AI innovation is accelerating. We see it in our everyday lives. We see it from the essence of like the ChatGPT enabling us to make content in a really easy, fast, simple way, make decisions more easy way. We see it in the way how we are getting different types of for example, on the e-commerce sites, products recommended for us. Sometimes we wonder, like, how do they know what I want? It's based on, obviously, AI algorithms. And these algorithms are becoming much more accurate, much more predictable, so fast to the point where sometimes we are also not sure how can we control them. How can we realize what is real, what is not real, and what essentially to do as the next steps. I had a really good chance yesterday to drive Rimac Nevera, which is, I don't know if you heard about the car, but it's essentially like the fastest electric car in the world, produced in Croatia, although we don't have car manufacturing industry, but now we do, I guess. But my point is, it was like, for me, it was very inspirational because while driving in this car, I realized one thing. Acceleration is great, accelerating is great, but if you don't have right systems in place to kind of stabilize and manipulate this acceleration, it can go really bad really fast. And this is, for example, one of the things also that we've seen how fast it is moving is just like a fact that ChatGPT accelerated towards 1 million users in 5 days has shown us how fast the things can develop. One of the consequences of that is that ChatGPT, when it was launched, the accuracy levels were around 80–85%. Now the accuracy levels have significantly fallen, and they have fallen because of the one fact, and this is that by doing the prompts, we are retraining the models, and by retraining the models, depending who is doing the retraining of the model itself, we are actually influencing the model itself. So actually sometimes, like if we are not training it properly, the model can actually come up with like less relevant results. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was at a conference also here in Belgrade, and there was a head IT recruiter of one of the biggest tech companies. I will not name them, but essentially they are really good with social connections creation. And the thing he said was, and it really stuck in my head, was that the way how they started utilizing AI to train the models on the recruitment. And then they were training those models. But the thing was, the problem was, and the challenge was that the models were being trained by the specific people working at that company. And during the training of the models, they were actually training models to give better grades to let's say, the students or the trainees that are from the Ivy League universities, typically, let's say, Indian descent, because they have been shown to be much more maybe productive in some environments. Anyhow, the conclusion was that the program and the training model they created was very biased. And then they needed to do retraining and et cetera, et cetera. So for them, this was the internal problem. But for us, just a second, sorry. For us, it actually becomes a global problem. Why? Because we are essentially still in the current situation where the biggest AI programs and models are being trained by the several large centralized players, which means the majority of the data, majority of the conclusions is being created in the centralized sources of power. And we, outside of that, are not actually certain what is being trained, how is it being trained, how is it being regulated, what are the current potential consequences that we might be facing moving on. So this is one of the cases where open source AI and decentralized approach to the things can really make a big difference. Why? Because in that matter, we can actually ensure that not all of the trainings are being on one side. And if there are, through the open source models, we are actually able to see what is being used, how is it being trained, and we can contribute and we can improve these models for them to work better on the much larger scale than they actually are. So the reason for that is why AI needs blockchain and how blockchain can actually help navigate the AI. I would just like to ask you if you can play the video. Just a short video example. Hopefully it works. Okay, so I will just voice over it. Essentially, here was a video of the deepfakes. In the last couple of years, there has been a couple of million deepfakes generated by the AI algorithms all the time. And this video was great. Just imagine it now in your head. Really? It was, okay, can you open the link if it's not a problem? Not too much hassle. Because it's really visually good. Kind of explains the purpose. Who has guessed which one is fake, which one is real? Okay, majority didn't. It was for me also. I was looking left or right. But essentially the point is, you see how fast we came from recognizing fake Tom Cruise to real fake Cruise and to Kim Kardashian that is literally the same. And here there is a huge problem, and the problem is that creating this type of content is much more easier every day. And I'm 100% sure next year we have the US elections coming up. It's going to be complete madness. We're going to see this type of content all over the place. So here is actually how blockchain kind of takes a really important role. It's because it can make things traceable, it can make things transparent. So we heard a bit about identity management, and there is also a thing called on-chain reputation. So imagine now actually each one of us creating their own decentralized identity through the wallets. And this identity is then being used to sign the specific content that is being created by us. The specific content being created by us is something that the other users can review. So it essentially means when the AIs are creating the videos, they can combine it with a specific identity that is being created on a blockchain. And in this way, we can actually see if some content is being fake or if some content is being real. So in this matter, blockchain can really start enabling for all of these things that are being hyper-created, hyper-defined, to be more easily distinguished whether it's legit or it's not legit. The second thing is AI agents. So we think and we've seen that the future of work is becoming already significantly more automated. I remember back at EY, we were doing a lot of RPAs, robotic process automation. There is a lot of like effectiveness coming from the AI. And within this effectiveness, especially if there are more sides that are working together, and by more sides, we mean person can work with another person, AI agent can work with another AI agent can work with person, people can work with AI agents. So all of this is becoming intertwined. In this matter, in this example of the gig marketplace, we actually have somebody who is having some task, ready to pay for it, for example, translate something into something, or develop some feature, or create something, or plant a tree, or whatever. They are making a request. There is another person or an AI agent that is ready to fulfill this request. So what we essentially can do is we can have the verification on blockchain that again defines what is the condition of this being actually executed, and under which circumstances when somebody executes something, they are getting paid. By defining these conditions in the smart contracts, we can easily automate the whole process, but still make sure that the process is verified, that the process is fair, and that whoever is doing the work is getting paid for the work almost instantly, automatically, without having to have any sort of interference or, like, I don't know, approvals from the bank, etc., etc. On that matter, one thing is the specific things of the ages. The other thing is the running part of the business. So we are automating more and more parts of the business. In this matter, the AI agents are taking much more roles within the organizations. So some of these roles can be community managers, developer relations, data analysts, legal assistants, etc. And each one of them is getting specific inputs and has a specific functions. And then again, all of this is getting automated by the AI, but with the blockchain technology, we are actually enabling all of this being automated in a fair way through the smart contract with the easily executable and fair transparency way of, I would say, validating it. But because one of the bigger problems is actually who did what, who changed what was the end result, what was the end goal, was it changed in the process in the meantime, were there some problems in the meantime, and audit trails are something that are like very important part of running every business. In the terms of the blockchain, we are actually like making this whole thing with the audit trails much more faster. Why? Because when it's signed on the blockchain, every part, who, where, what, when, you are not actually able to change this information once the information is being validated, and it enables AI to come back very fast, and just like based on what information was shared on the blockchain and validated on the blockchain, just check if something was verified, not verified, if the condition was accepted, not accepted, and in this matter actually prove that something was being done or something needs to be executed. And then one of the things in this whole process is the governance itself. So how do we make sure that all of this is being governed? And one of the visions can be actually, can an AI as such become a president with the help of blockchain? So can we make sure that we have all of the context that is being kind of taken in consideration, all of the votes that are being defined and marked up on the blockchain, all of the stakeholders that are getting the right information at the right time, on the right place, making sure that nothing is being forged. Can we actually have organizations that are being run by the AI? This is my question more to you. What do you think? Can we automate the things to the point where organizations might be able, and here we don't need to have necessarily offline organizations, we can talk about fully digital organization, fully digital government, states. Do you think that to some point we might be reaching this? Raise your hand if you say yes. Raise your hand if it's no. So still power to the people. I think seeing what is happening, maybe not be running the governments per se, but some smaller parts of the organization, maybe some smaller parts of the public entities that don't necessarily require, like say, human touch, human empathy, but strict conditions to which something needs to be done. I do think that we might be moving into this direction. We were speaking about metaverse. Within the metaverse, we can organize events, we can organize whole digital nations. If you heard about things like Decentraland, you can actually buy land. You can have a specific tokens that are dedicated to you, that ensures the ownership of your land. And then AI can take all of this in consideration and can give you some specific voting rights, can give you some specific rights to be part of some engagements, etc. And by that, you are essentially having somebody running the things for you. So most likely this is the direction we are moving into. Whether it's going to be in the next 3 or 10 years, it's going to be also dependent on if we manage to regulate the things enough, how fast we manage to enable the reputation management, the identity management via blockchain on the AI, and make sure that the things, when they are done, they are actually done in the way that they are protecting us and not kind of messing with our futures, like in the Black Mirror scenarios. So couple of key takeaways. Obviously, fast acceleration, blockchain that enables the tracking, the transparency. When you know what is happening, who is doing something, what has been changed, when has been changed, what has been written, validated, you actually know how legit something is. And blockchain is nothing more, nothing less than just a tool to enable this process. And then by combining both of them, we see that we would be able to better navigate in the future, more automated, more effective, and obviously by default then also more ethical outcomes. So that's basically it. This was more like a high-level overview, but I'm sure there are some other presentations coming later. I saw that might be giving out specific different use cases, so looking forward to see those as well. Thank you.
Thank you, great talk. I have a question. I fully see how this blockchain construction could help with transparency and with information, but it seems to me critical that this information is validate it somehow. You mentioned it before it comes to the blockchain. So this validation is not happening in the blockchain itself. So you are still have a line of default against manipulation at this stage. And the second is maybe a remark. It seems to me, if I rewind history, say 200 years, and if you look at the attempts of, say, states like Prussia or Austria-Hungary, they tried to implement something that you now describe with the AI in their bureaucracy. So they tried to establish a uniform, legally bound bureaucracy that automatically would guarantee due process, but still there are lots of things that are unforeseeable, and then you need a judicial system, and I do not see how these functional issues disappear here.
Well, thank you for the great comments. I agree with you. It's on the second one. They were trying to establish different processes and everything, but it's always like how we establish the banking system. How are we establishing our governments in general? What was essential, for example, with the whole Bitcoin thing and revolution, what is happening now, it's based on the algorithms. It's based on the mathematics. It's not based especially on the human training, human behavior, and everything. And it's obviously not perfect, but we do think that it could significantly improve the level of accuracy, the level of like transparency and all this thing. And this is, let's be honest, one of the reasons that the governments are probably not so much prone into getting so much into the blockchain, because once you are validating it there, you have a very specific, transparent trail of who has done what, when, how. And as we know, this leaves less flexibility for manipulation. And sometimes manipulation is something that people prefer doing in order to achieve their goals or leave themselves a bit more space for their own agenda or the agenda of their parties. So I think we have a long way to go, but I do think that combining the mathematical models and a lot of the blockchain projects are dealing with that, like how do we remove the human bias as much as possible to kind of upgrade and optimize the level of accuracy.
So great talk indeed, and just wanted to ask the following. So being that I'm one of the two owners of a small company, we are overwhelmed with the government bureaucracy, with all these things we need to do, not to screw up. And it's some kind of automation that would be easy to implement and accurate and so on would be great for us. But what happens if we somehow get screwed up? You know, we are still liable, right? I mean, as humans, AI cannot be liable. So if there is any mistake, right? Would that be the... And is there already kind of ready applications that we could use, maybe that we can improve the way things are done? Because a lot of small companies are really struggling to just cope. There is no end to how much they demand in terms of very scrappy procedures. Yeah. So.
I know. I feel your pain. I have had a couple of smaller companies as well, and I know, like, it. Bureaucracy is killing you. AI does help, but it's important to, like, what's with the AI? Like, you can just not install AI in one part of the process. You kind of need to make sure, need to define, okay, this is a small company, this is their journey. Since the day they decide to start the company, to the day they are like submitting the taxes, or they want to close the company. Closing the company is much bigger nightmare than opening a company. I'm sure some of you know that. What is kind of important is when we think about the AI is how do we actually train the AI, and if we talked about the agents, which kind of agents do we need to install, and in which areas do these agents still need to work combined with people to ensure that this, for example, process for you as a small company owner is not being a complete nightmare. And for that, we actually do need the understanding of the government and the authorities of where the AI can help them. And then you have additional challenge sometimes that you don't want people thinking AI when you install, like when you set up the AI, you will have to fire the people. Firing the people is bad for the the PR, because you are kind of firing people, and then you get like, you know, bad reputation, public governments, etc. So it's a lot of combination of lobbying, technology, and everything. But I think step by step, we are getting there. Good use cases help, starting with the public authorities that are a bit more open, and then kind of pushing it. And then at some point, the others don't have choice.
If there are no questions, another applause. Thank you.